Hi, I'm Anna, and welcome back to the D1 Audible Cheat Sheets. By the time we reach chapter 12 in the D1 textbook, you've already done a lot of heavy lifting. You've learned how vines grow, how grapes ripen, what threatens them, and what's inside them once they arrive at the winery. This chapter exists because it answers the next unavoidable question. What does the winemaker choose to do with all of that? Chapter 12 isn't about declaring a right way to make wine. It's about understanding philosophy. Because philosophy determines tools, tolerance for risk, cost, consistency, and ultimately the style and reliability of the wine in the bottle. If you grasp that, this chapter becomes a lens you'll use again and again across the diploma. We start with what the syllabus calls conventional or modern winemaking, though conventional here doesn't mean careless or industrial. It means winemaking grounded in scientific understanding. Everything changed once Louis Pasteur identified the rule of yeast and bacteria in the 19th century. From that point on, winemaking shifted from mystery to management. Modern winemaking is built around control. Temperature control allows winemakers to decide whether a fermentation should be slow and cool to preserve fruit or warmer to extract color and tannin. It allows cold soaking before fermentation and stable maturation afterwards. Additives and processing aids, things like SO2, cultured yeast, fining agents, or sugar, are available as tools, not obligations. And technology allows intervention when something goes wrong, from filtration to highly sophisticated processes like reverse osmosis. The key idea for students is this: modern winemaking prioritizes stability and predictability. The goal is to produce wines that are clean, free of faults, and consistent year after year. That's why this approach is used across all price points, from inexpensive wines to very fine ones. Importantly, just because these tools exist doesn't mean they're all always used. A premium producer may choose not to filter, believing it strips texture. A winemaker making wines with residual sugar may choose sterile filtration because sugar increases spoilage risk. The philosophy allows flexibility. The decisions follow the desired style and market. Organic winemaking shifts the focus slightly. Here, the starting point is certified organically grown grapes. In the winery, however, organic does not mean hands off. Many of the same tools used in conventional winemaking are still permitted: cultured yeast, yeast nutrients, fining agents, even added tannins. What changes is that certain practices are restricted or banned, and there's a strong preference for organic raw materials where possible. What often surprises students is how different organic rules are depending on where you are. In the EU, organic wine can include added SO2 within limits. In the United States, a wine labeled organic cannot have any added SO2 at all, while, in quotes, wine made from organic grapes can. Certification itself adds cost, and whether that cost translates into a higher price depends entirely on the market. Organic wine exists at every level. It's not a quality guarantee, it's a production framework. Biodynamic winemaking goes a step further. But again, this is not about mysticism for the sake of it. Biodynamic treats the vineyard and winery as part of a living system. Certification requires biodynamically grown grapes, and in the cellar, there are tighter restrictions on what can and cannot be done. Demeter is the key certifying body, but rules vary by country. In some places, natural yeasts are encouraged but not mandatory. In others, they are required unless a fermentation fails. What matters for D1 is not memorizing preparations or lunar calendars, but understanding that biodynamic certification narrows the winemaker's toolkit. Certain additives and interventions are banned, which increases risk and often cost. As a result, biodynamic wines tend to sit in the mid to premium range, not because they are inherently better, but because they are usually small scale and labor intensive. Natural winemaking is where philosophy becomes most polarizing. There is no single universally accepted definition. In practice, it usually means minimal intervention, fermentation with ambient yeast, little or no added SO2, and avoidance of corrective processes. Many natural winemakers insist on organic or biodynamic grapes, whether certified or not. The guiding idea here is nothing added, nothing removed. Though in reality, some intervention is unavoidable. The wines are often small batch, and the price reflects that. Some consumers and producers believe natural wines express terroir more honestly. Others argue that without basic protections like SO2, wines can become unstable or flawed. The syllabus is careful here, it does not take sides. Your role as a student is to understand the trade offs. And that's the heart of chapter 12. This chapter exists in D1 to show that winemaking is not just technical, it's philosophical. Each approach carries consequences for cost, risk, consistency, style, and market position. Later, when you study specific winemaking techniques in detail, or when you taste wines in D3, D4, or D5, this chapter is what helps you interpret why a wine tastes the way it does and why a producer might accept certain risks in pursuit of a particular outcome. If you understand that, you're not just learning how wine is made, you're learning how winemakers think. I do hope this helps with your prep, and I'll see you at the next episode.